Imagine a world where silence whispers danger, where calm is merely the mask before the storm. History is filled with societies lulled into a false sense of security, convinced that nothing happening today meant safety tomorrow. But often, the quiet was the precursor to chaos. Before we dive into the shadows of history, if you love uncovering humanity's hidden mistakes and forbidden secrets, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, so you never miss the warnings the world doesn't want you to see. Warning 10. Late Bronze Age Trade Silence c. 1200 BCE. At the height of Mediterranean civilization, Mycenaeans, Hittites, and Egyptians thrived through trade. Markets were bustling, palaces adorned, fleets crossing the sea. And yet, in the years leading up to the Late Bronze Age collapse, letters and records show an eerie silence. Trade routes went unprotected, diplomatic correspondence dwindled. Merchants reported nothing unusual, farmers noticed all as usual, and rulers received no warnings from vassals or spies. This complacency allowed the mysterious sea peoples to strike without opposition, toppling empires that had lasted centuries. What seemed like peace was, in fact, a countdown to catastrophe. Lesson: silence is often the calm before a collapse. Prosperity without vigilance is a dangerous illusion. Warning 9. Abbasid frontier quiet years, 8th–9th century CE. The Abbasid Caliphate, stretching from Baghdad to North Africa, experienced decades of quiet along its far-flung borders. Tribes along the edges neither raided nor rebelled. Governors reported no incidents. The capital reveled in arts, literature, and learning, unaware that frontier societies were quietly consolidating power and forming coalitions. When rebellion finally struck in remote provinces, the Abbasid response was chaotic. The empire that had celebrated a century of silence found itself scrambling to quell uprisings that had been brewing unnoticed. Present-day parallel. Modern governments sometimes misread quiet regions as stable, ignoring underlying tensions that could explode when least expected. Warning 8. Qing Dynasty Coastal Neglect, 17th–18th century. China's Qing rulers believed their long-standing coastal calm meant security. Pirates had disappeared, European ships were few, and trade restrictions made officials feel all is under control. But behind the serene waters, smuggling networks and foreign interests were quietly gaining strength. When the White Lotus Rebellion and foreign incursions arrived, the dynasty's decades of complacency left them unprepared. Calm had lured them into underestimating danger. Lesson: ignoring small, silent threats allows hidden dangers to grow into overwhelming crises. Warning 7. Ottoman Balkan calm before revolt, 19th century. In the Ottoman Balkans, local governors boasted of decades without conflict. Farmers tilled fields, cities flourished, and taxes flowed. The central authority heard nothing unusual. Yet, nationalist sentiments simmered under the surface. Secret societies, cultural revival movements, and discontent among minorities were quietly coalescing. By the time rebellion erupted, the empire was caught off guard, and centuries of regional control began to unravel in a few short years. Future-oriented question. Today, Could societies ignoring simmering unrest be on the brink of sudden upheaval, unnoticed until it's too late? Warning 6. Weimar Economic Recovery Illusion 1924–1929. Germany after World War I was fragile. Hyperinflation had devastated the middle class, but by the mid-1920s, the Golden Twenties brought a superficial economic calm. Stock markets rose, nightlife flourished, and international observers praised stability. Few noticed the structural weakness: massive reliance on foreign loans, political extremism brewing underground, and societal frustration. This false calm lulled citizens and leaders into underestimating the potential for collapse. Within a few years, the Great Depression struck, setting the stage for the rise of Nazism. Lesson: economic calm can hide fragility. Appearances of recovery may mask impending disaster. Warning 5. Pre-WW1 European Peace Belief 1900–1914. At the turn of the 20th century, Europe seemed invincible in its stability. The major powers, Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, celebrated a century of relative peace. Armies trained, but no one expected total war. Diplomats attended balls and banquets, newspapers published stories of harmony. Yet beneath the surface, alliances were rigid, nationalist fervor simmered, and militarization grew. No one predicted that a single assassination in Sarajevo would unravel the delicate network of treaties and spark the Great War. Present-day parallel. Nations today may feel secure in treaties, alliances, or international norms, yet hidden tensions can explode, rendering peace an illusion. Lesson: comfort in stability can blind societies to the structural weaknesses that lead to catastrophe. Warning 4. Lebanon pre-Civil War Stability Myth 1958–1975. Lebanon in the 1960s and early 1970s was celebrated as the Switzerland of the Middle East. Beirut shone with wealth, tourism flourished, and political agreements appeared steady. But sectarian divisions, foreign interventions, and political corruption were quietly intensifying. The calm streets and bustling cafes hid a society teetering on the edge. By 1975, when violence erupted, the peace many had taken for granted proved an illusion. Lesson: external appearances of calm rarely reveal the underlying fractures in society. Future-oriented question: could modern cities or nations enjoying superficial prosperity be harboring invisible tensions that only emerge when the pressure becomes unbearable? Warning 3. Yugoslavia Unity Illusion 1945–1990s. After World War II, Yugoslavia under Tito appeared unified and stable. Ethnic groups lived under a single flag, industries thrived, and international observers admired the Yugoslav model of non-alignment. However, beneath the surface, ethnic nationalism simmered. Political repression stifled open conflict, creating an artificial calm. By the 1990s, decades of ignored tensions erupted into brutal civil wars, proving that silent cohesion can be dangerously fragile. Present-day parallel. Multicultural societies may project unity while unresolved historical grievances fester quietly. Lesson: artificial calm can store energy for a far more violent release later. Warning 2. Soviet stagnation era, 1970s–1980s. During the late Soviet era, everyday life seemed stable. Factories ran, citizens queued for goods, and the KGB kept dissent under tight control. The West often noted the USSR's apparent calm and continuity. But the quiet hid economic inefficiency, political corruption, and technological lag. By the late 1980s, systemic stagnation combined with unaddressed dissent led to the USSR's sudden unraveling. Lesson: a society can appear calm while internally, its systems are decaying. Silence does not equal security. Present-day parallel. Countries relying on centralized control or censorship may maintain superficial calm, masking deeper structural decay. Warning 1. Digital surveillance complacency today, 2000s present. In the modern era, digital life projects calm. Apps, social media, and online services make daily life smooth and predictable. Governments monitor, citizens share, and technology promises safety. Yet this very calm fosters complacency. People rarely question the extent of surveillance, data manipulation, or algorithmic bias. Silent threats, deepfakes, cyber attacks, AI-driven misinformation may grow unnoticed, potentially shaping society before we even realize danger exists. Future-oriented question: are we mistaking digital calm for security, only to discover the storm has already begun in unseen networks and invisible systems? From ancient empires to modern digital landscapes, the lesson is hauntingly consistent. Societies that confuse silence with safety often pay the highest price. Complacency, ignorance, or blind trust in appearances can allow hidden dangers to grow unchecked. Across continents and centuries, a chilling pattern emerges. The quieter a society appears, the greater the risk that unseen forces are shaping its downfall. Whether it's the late Bronze Age, the Qing dynasty, or modern digital networks, silence often signals not peace, but neglect. What connects all 10 warnings is complacency fueled by perception. People and governments assume that what they cannot see cannot hurt them. Leaders trust statistics, appearances, and superficial stability, ignoring the quiet currents of change. The cost of this mistake is measured not in days or months, but in decades of lost potential and sudden catastrophe. Empires collapse, economies implode, nations fracture, all under the illusion of safety. Lessons from history. False calm is seductive. Humans are wired to feel secure when everything looks normal. But the very normalcy is often a lie, masking tension, rebellion, or decay. Neglect grows unnoticed. Threats, ignored signals, however small, accumulate into crises. What seems trivial today can become catastrophic tomorrow. Appearances deceive. Political stability, economic growth, or technological control can hide systemic weaknesses. A society may appear strong while rotting from within. Vigilance is timeless across eras. The difference between survival and collapse often comes down to attention, foresight, and willingness to act on subtle warnings. History repeats itself from ancient trade routes to modern cyberspace. The pattern of mistaking silence for safety recurs, urging us to learn and anticipate. Present-day implications. Today, digital calm may lull entire populations into complacency. Economic, social, or environmental signals are often ignored because they're subtle, slow-moving, or inconvenient. Just as Abbasid governors misread quiet frontiers or Weimar Germans misread economic recovery, modern societies risk being blindsided by silent, systemic threats, AI-driven manipulation, climate tipping points, and geopolitical undercurrents. The lesson is stark. Just because nothing has happened yet does not mean nothing will happen tomorrow. Future-oriented reflection. The ultimate warning from history is that false calm is a universal trap. Whether in the Mediterranean, Europe, Asia, or online networks, complacency creates fertile ground for crisis. Ask yourself, are we noticing subtle threats before they become catastrophic? Are the signals we ignored today potentially shaping the disasters of tomorrow? How can individuals, leaders, and societies cultivate vigilance without succumbing to paranoia? The answers are not easy, but history shows they are vital. Recognizing the illusion of safety is the first step in avoiding the fate of those who mistook silence for security. History whispers its warnings to those willing to listen. If you want to uncover more hidden patterns, forbidden lessons, and dark truths that shape our world, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us on Top 10 Untold, where every episode is a map to understanding the dangerous illusions humanity falls for. Remember, the quietest societies often hide the loudest storms. Will we heed the warnings, or repeat the mistakes of history?